What's going on, you guys? Welcome back to another episode of Pedal Down 4x4. It is a new week, new weekend, new day off. So we are gonna get into fixing up my hood. This hood actually, when you're lifting it and you have it supported, it does flex. So I think that's what's caused the cracking along the seam. So let me show you guys what the cracking does look like. All right, so I think we are gonna just pull the hood off and work on it on a table. But you can see it cracked in two places here, and then it cracked along this front bit. Now, I actually used fiberglass for the rest of the hood, which came out fantastic, came out great. But starting around here, I started using this different product, this Bondo glass thing, and you can tell that it didn't work out too well for me. Actually, it's failed miserably. So we're gonna pull the hood off and we're gonna start chopping it up, and we're gonna start fixing up this hood and getting it back in better condition. All right, so we got the hood off. Let's take a look at it right here. Hood is on the table. Now you can kind of clearly see that how damaged this is. What I think we are gonna do actually though is I think we're gonna turn this hood over and we are gonna start cutting up the metal. I need to get access under here to see like why did it fail, whatever, and then we can see how we can strengthen up this hood. So let's start cutting. All right, so you can see I cut this top layer off and it revealed this bottom layer that's actually lays flat against the hood. This is part of the hood skin. So what I think I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go on the other side. I'm gonna grind out the cuts, and then I'm gonna use like self-tapping screws to bolt it all in together, and then have that hold everything. Cut off all the ends on this side, and then we're gonna fiberglass it all in one piece, and then hopefully that'll prevent it from cracking. And then I was thinking about maybe making some sort of like, I don't know, tube bracket, something that goes across each side to try to make this hood a little bit more solid. So let me flip her over and we're gonna start grinding out the fiberglass. All right, so I sprayed a little bit of primer on here to cover up the bare metal. But here's the plan. The plan is to actually just fiberglass this whole piece right here. And then we are going to use the self-tapping screws to screw into a few points in here. Once everything is cured up and dried, then we'll just chop the head off of each self-tapping screw. Then we're gonna flip it over and we're gonna fiberglass the backside too. So hopefully it doesn't break away again, I guess. I think it definitely was, because there was one point here where I repaired a little bit of fiberglass and that part didn't crack. But everywhere else, you would have seen all this crap on the ground. That's from the Bondo glass that I use, and that all just failed on the edges and started to crack. So we're gonna just fiberglass this whole thing right here. So I have to go mix up some fiberglass, let this put one more coat of primer on here, give it a quick scuff, and then we're gonna start laying down some glass on it. Okay, so we have put in all the screws and we grounded down the heads, but now I already pre-cut some of the fiberglass. So we're gonna mix up some resin here. So, mixing up some resin, gonna get a paintbrush, and we're gonna start applying some of this fiberglass. All right, so we got the first layer of fiberglass done on the car. The screws are underneath. They have already been grounded down, so it's flat. It's like this because I whacked it with the grinder. So the resin will take up some of the space. And then obviously we're gonna have to sand this guy down and get it to be good. But I think we're probably going to do another layer here, another layer right here on the hood, and then once it all dries I'll sand everything down, and then we'll flip the hood, we'll fiberglass the underneath, and then I'll come back to what you got. I'll come back to you guys what it looks like, what the end product is. But for now we need to let this guy dry. I need to grab more brushes and I need to go get some fiberglass mat because this is just a cloth. So the cloth we're going to use on the top, and we're probably going to try to use some mat on the bottom. If we don't get mat, then we'll probably just use all of this fiberglass material here. But yeah, it's coming out pretty good. So I'll come back to you guys when the final, or not with the final product, but I'll come back to you guys when this is dried. Okay, so I have finished fiberglassing up the hood, obviously. I sprayed a little bit of primer on it, and now I'm just spreading on some of the body filler. This one is from U-Pole, and this is just to bring the hood back to shape and what it was. It's pretty much there. I just need to do a little bit of fine tuning on it. I doubt you guys want to see me sand. I've already been sanding for hours now, what it feels like. But yeah, I'm covered in fiberglass, so I'm itchy. But I'm gonna just keep working the hood, and then I actually already fiberglassed the bottom piece, which I can probably show you guys if I just lift up this hood a little bit. You guys see where I fiberglass that other piece down there. So fiberglassing is all done. Now it's on to the tedious body work. I'm not gonna bore you guys with the details. I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna finish this up. I actually have to get ready for work soon, within the next hour or so. So I'm gonna just keep sanding, body filling, sanding, body filling. If you've ever done like body work like this, you would know you'd put on all like this body filler right here, and you would sand off 90%. And that's just the name of the game. 90% of this stuff is gonna come off. So kind of sucks, but it is what it is. You don't want to thick it on, make it real nice and thick. That's not gonna, it's gonna end bad for you. So yeah, I'm gonna just keep sanding, doing my thing, and then I'll come back to you guys with the final product. We still have to spray the thing with primer later on. I have to get more primer and whatnot. All right, good morning, everybody. So here is where we're sitting currently at on the 4Runner's hood. Did a bunch of sanding yesterday before I went to work. It looks a little wavy right here, but that's just because I was sanding primer down. The next thing I want to do now is I'm going to use a skim coat. This primer right here is just a temporary. I just spray the primer on, and then that way I can see any high or low spots, sand it down a little bit, and then I can spray, or I can put on some more of the body filler or whatever. Which it wasn't that much body filler that I actually used. But now I'm gonna do a skim coat of the other U-Pole product, and that's gonna fill any of the crevices and holes. I'm then gonna spray this on again, and that's pretty much gonna be it for right now. When I do spray, when I do start doing the rest of the body work on the 4Runner, then I'm actually gonna use a 2K primer, and I'm gonna primer this hood and then resand the entire hood back down. So yeah, but that's where we're sitting right now. I'm pretty happy with it. It's really nice and smooth. So we're gonna go ahead and we're going to do a skim coat on this, sand it back down, reprimer it, and then we should be good. You can obviously see the color difference. This is the 2-pack primer that I used, and this is just a regular 1-pack high build primer that I'm spraying on it just to see any high and low spots, so I can give it a quick sand. But it does look a lot worse in the camera. Like right here, I don't know why it looks like that in the camera, but it does not look that bad. But yeah, so I'm gonna go ahead, spray a little bit of that skim coat, and then we'll go from there. All right, so this is the glaze that I'm gonna put on the entire hood. Not on the entire hood, but just on a certain section. Let's get the bit off of there. And this is an ultra fine glaze. You don't need a lot for this. It's just to cover up any other imperfections. Now, when I mix it, usually all I do is I take the hardener and I just go one time across like that. And that's usually enough. Like, you don't need any more of that. I put right here, I put some right here in case there's any little hard bits in there. So I take it off. And then I'm just gonna mix it. When you do mix this kind of stuff, you're gonna wanna go in this motion. You don't wanna chop it up, because if you chop it up, you're gonna make air bubbles, and the last thing you need is air bubbles. The next thing that would cover up any of this stuff would be like a high build primer. So I do have a high build primer. Actually, the U-pole one actually is already a high build primer, but we're gonna use a different primer for the entire hood after. And that's pretty much it. There's only a little spots over here, so we're gonna let that harden up, and then we're gonna sand it down, and then we're gonna spray the entire hooded primer. I'm gonna start sanding the rest of it while it cures, and then once it does cure, then we can sand everything down and reprimer it. Okay, so the hood is now primered up. It's pretty much good. Later on, once it does dry, I'm gonna go ahead and wet sand the whole hood with 320 grit, and then we're gonna call it a day at that. Next up, we're gonna try and reinforce the bottom. I'm not exactly sure how we're gonna do that. I'm gonna flip the hood over, and then once we get the hood reinforced, then we'll throw it back on the 4Runner, and then when we are ready to do the actual body work and everything else, then we'll go ahead and actually primer this with 2K and give it a proper sand. But so far, looking at it, it looks pretty good. There's no cracks or whatever, because I got fiberglass. So this whole portion right here got fiberglass. Over here and over here got fiberglass. All that other Bondo stuff got removed, and then we used some of the U-pole body filler just to smooth everything out. So I'm gonna let this dry for a little bit. I'm gonna wet sand it down, probably about 30 minutes, 45 minutes, and then we'll flip the hood and we'll take a look underneath and see how we can strengthen up this hood a little bit. All right, so I wet sanded down the hood. So she's really nice and smooth now. You can see where the hood part ends and it slopes down more. Um, It is looking pretty good. Obviously, I could fill this up with fiberglass, but I don't want to make a massive hump thing. So I do like the way that it comes down. Hood is basically done. We are ready to actually spray some real primer on this guy and then give it a spray. But we need to flip this whole hood over, and then we need to look at the backside and just look at some ways that we can try and reinforce this hood. Now, whether that be with welding some stuff on or using more fiberglass, that is to be determined. But first things first, we're gonna get this hood flipped on its top. It will scratch a little bit here and there, but that's fine. Like I said, this is not the finished product. This is just kind of the base of it done. All the fiberglass parts on this hood is done. So now we have to just turn it over. So let's get turning it over and then see how we can reinforce this thing. All right, I already know I'm gonna scratch the crap out of the top, but fuck it. Gives a shit. Okay. Oh yeah, that's all scratches in that fresh primer. So we have our hood right now. Now, what I'm thinking about doing is maybe taking a bar or something and maybe tack welding it up, like somewhere over here, making it go across, or making a couple cross braces. The reason why is when you lift the hood on that one side, it kind of deflects a little bit. So I'm thinking about maybe tack welding some bars across here. Hopefully that doesn't affect with our clearance on the supercharger. But yeah, we're gonna have to grind this down a little bit over here, and then we'll have to put some bars across. But let's take a look. What I also am thinking about doing is we have these crossbars right here. I'm thinking about welding maybe a tube that comes from this side to here, and then from this side to here, and then maybe welding another tube here and then there, making like a little diamond shape, and that'll try and help support the hood as best we can. So I do believe I'm probably gonna have to go to Home Depot and grab some bits for that, but I'll see what I have in the shed, and maybe we have some tubing or something that we could weld onto this guy. All right, so I reached in the shed. I do have one tube right here. This is from the actual actually I forgot what this is from. It was from something. I think it was to do with the Tacoma. I'm not sure. But so I'm thinking maybe we can weld something up like this. Looking at it, we're not going to hit anything. So if we weld something from here to here, I think that would be ideal. We're probably going to have to smash the ends a little bit, curve this down, give it a little bit of an arch, and that way it'll be a little bit stronger. So I'm going to go ahead, put this in the vise. I'll probably smash this end and this end to get it flat, and then make a little bit of curve to it. And that'll be our first brace pipe right across the center there. I'm thinking about kind of putting it between this flat plane here and this flat plane here, because this is part of the original structure. And then if I have anything else, that I can try and cross brace it into this top section here. So let me smash these ends in and take a measure and see what we need to do. All right, so I tack welded, right, kind of like stitch welded this on because the metal is so thin. But that bar, it did help a little bit with the rigidity, but I think what I need to do is I need to make this hood like one piece or something. So I think what I might do is take a couple metal bars, put them across here, and then fiberglass this section to this whole hood scoop thing. Because it seems like it's trying to flex over here, and honestly, the metal is so thin that if I try to reinforce it, it just keeps burning through. My machine can't go that low, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna just end up fiberglassing this whole piece, and then I think we're gonna be good from there. But that'll be for another day. I actually have to get ready for work soon, so I'm gonna fiberglass it later, and then I'll show you guys what it looks like. This whole bottom section just glassed, and then we'll get it back on the hood, or we'll get it back on top of the actual 4Runner and see what she looks like. And hopefully that metal piece does not interfere with the supercharger. I don't think it's going to, but you never know. So yeah, I'll see you guys in a little bit. All right, good morning, everybody. So it is the next day or so. I have fiberglass this whole top piece. So hopefully that gives us the rigidity and strength that we need. There's like 7 layers of fiberglass on this guy. So I'm hoping that gives us a little bit extra strength, as well as this bar that was basically tacked on multiple times because I couldn't get it to weld. My machine doesn't go that low for me to weld like sheet metal. It just burns as soon as I touch it, it'll burn straight through. So we're gonna try and get this guy back on the 4Runner, and then we need to actually turn the 4Runner around. But before that, I need to actually move the Lexus out of the way, back the 4Runner up, pull my fiance's car out, and might pull the Tacoma. We need to actually wash this whole garage. There's just powder everywhere right now. It's the one reason why I hate doing fiberglass. Like, I love it, but I hate it at the same time. It's easy to do, but it sure is a pain in the ass to clean up and deal with. So yeah, I'm gonna throw you guys a little bit of a time lapse, and we're gonna try and get that guy back on the 4Runner. All right, so you probably would have seen my struggle a little earlier. Finally got the hood to close. This thing did not want to close at all. And now that I actually have the hood closed, I can actually see that this fiberglass kit doesn't come out far enough. There's a little bit of a gap right here, which is a little bit irritating. But yeah, I was really debating on putting hood pins in already because this thing does not want to close because the hood latch is so messed up. But we are looking pretty good. The hood is obviously scuffed up something pretty bad. And guess what? It's cracked right there. There's a tiny little crack right there. And I think that was because I was I was forcing this hood trying to get it to close, and I had to pull the thing apart. So that's fucking irritating. So I'm gonna have to cut this out right here and fix this. I believe this is right where the fiberglass ends on the repair. So I'm gonna have to cut this part out, refiberglass that piece. But you can tell it's all scratched up already because of when I was moving it around on the concrete and whatnot. But that's fine for now. It is what it is. The major cracks are all done. It's a lot more. It's a lot more stiff, the hood, so that's good. It just cracked over there because I was just forcing the shit out of this thing. But yeah, so the hood is pretty much done. This grill is kind of just sitting here because I was like, what the hell? Why does this hood not want to close? But if the hood does give me more issues because the hood latch is like really rusted out. In fact, one of the bolts actually are broken. I think I might just go ahead and install some hood pins to keep the hood latched down. All right, you guys, so that is pretty much going to be this episode on Pedal Down 4x4. A whole lot of frustration with this damn hood. This hood didn't fit well to begin with, from before I had the hood scoop on. I did have to grind a little piece out here to clear some of the other stuff, but for the most part, all the bodywork is done. As you guys would have seen, I did put a small crack in it again, but that was my fault. I was forcing this hood as hard as I could, and it had a slight small stress crack right here. So before that gets worse, when we do the rest of the bodywork, I'm gonna drill 2 holes, grind this out, refiberglass it, and then we should be good to go. That's no biggie. But the hood latch on this car is really bad. It's really worn out, and instead of spending the money than buying a new one, because this hood didn't even fit well in the first place, I think I might put in hood latches if it comes to that point. This hood is a pain in the ass to close. So that's pretty much going to be it for this week's episode of Pedal Down 4x4. I will see you guys next week when we are going to start doing the rear fiberglass. Luckily, hopefully it fits okay where I don't have to go through all of this. This took, believe it or not, 3 days. 3 days this took because the fiberglass had to set and cure, sand it down, then put more fiberglass, set and cure, primer, bodywork. This took 3 days. Now, not full 3 days of work. That was between my jobs, but it still took a long ass time, a lot longer than I wanted to take on this hood. But it's a lot stronger up front. This whole base section is a lot stronger. Just have a small stress crack, which I'll fix that in a little bit. Well, till next time, and as always, thanks for watching.